umuntu ozisizulu mhlawumbe khona abantu abezisilungu sodwa.
I know from what I know, zonke la sizizwa zonke isilungu nesizulu konke siyakuzwa.
Oh, okay. Hayi, no angiqale nje ngokubulisa abazalwane egama lenkosi ethu Jesu Kristu. Ngibonga ukuthi icorona isenze nendlela
No, go ahead.
Ukuthi ngiyazizwa mangikhuluma, so I don't know what's
no. It was we are streaming you on YouTube. That's why. So
okay,
but it's fine now.
Yeah. So inkosi isasivumela nakule simo secorona ukuthi sikwazi ukuhlangana sixoxe ngendaba zeBhayibheli. Namhlanje ngifuna sibuke uMatthew 4. Ngifuna sivakashele uMatthew 4. Ivesi ejwayelekile uverse 4. Matthew 4 verse 4. Indimana ejwayeleke kakhulu. Ngifuna sike sivakashele Matthew 4 verse 4. Mhlawumbe masingayivula sifunde semakhaya. Ngina umkhuba ukungafundi ngikhulume nje kodwa sengakhuza kuleyo nto ukuthi kusemqoka ukuthi sike sime silifunde iBhayibheli. Asiyeni kuye uMatthew chapter 4 verse 4. I-context yale verse, uJesu ubuya usegcotshiwe manje usewuMessiah, is a Messiah. Chapter 3 lapho ebhaphatiswa khona uJohane umbhaphatisi. Then uNkulunkulu amdeclare ukuthi lena indodana yami, this is my son in whom I'm well pleased. Moyingcwele wehleke. Now Christ is the Messiah. And then uSathane ke uJesu ahamba yofasta, uSathane ke aveleke. Ayivela kuSathane, uSathane uze uzomlinga. And like verse 3, Matthew, and when the tempter came to him, he said, if you are the Son of God, command these stones to be made bread. Command these stones to be made bread. But he answered and said, it is written, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that comes out of the mouth of God. May God attend a blessing to his message. There's a sermon I've preached before on this verse where I talk about stone religion. And the point of that sermon is me arguing that God does not bless stones. You know, God doesn't produce our food from stones. The point of that verse is that God does not unnecessarily do the extraordinary to meet our ordinary needs. Right? If it's not in the plan of God that man should find food from gold, can't turn gold into food directly. You can pray for that gold until you die. God is not going to turn it into bread because God is not in that business. The fundamental business that God is in is to bless you through the natural process he has created. And what is that natural process? God will make rain, which is a big miracle. And that rain will find a seed, the ground, which we walk on and you will plant, and things will grow from there, which is also a big miracle, you know. The seed must first die and then must grow. So that's how God operates and meets us. That's a point I've made elsewhere, that God does not bless stones, because stones are not seeds. Seeds are crucial in the Hebraic thinking, right? And in Judeo-Christian as well, that God operates on seeds. That is why even Christ is likened to a seed. It's referred to as a seed of a woman, you know, or the seed of Abraham in the book of Galatians, that God operates with seeds. And the plan of salvation as well can be thought of within that framework of seeds. But today I want to take a different look at this verse. And the look I want us to have on this verse is the juxtaposition between man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that comes out of the mouth of God. But in the background, the idea that the devil wanted Christ to perform a miracle. What's interesting to note, and this is a very important point to notice, from Matthew 1 to Matthew 4, at least that period of when Christ is tempted, Christ had not performed any miracle. So when the devil is asking Christ to perform a miracle, Christ had not performed a miracle. At that particular stage, there is no miracle. There's no miracle. But the devil already knew that Christ could perform miracles and was asking him to perform a miracle that demonstrates that he's a son of God. And Christ refuses to perform a miracle to demonstrate that he's a son of God. So we meet a savior. Christ is affirmed. He's a savior. And the affirmation comes from God. And the devil says, but man, prove that you're the son of God and perform a miracle. And Christ refuses to perform a miracle to demonstrate that he's the son of God. He refuses to perform a miracle to demonstrate that he's the son of God. But the contrast is here, very interesting. But after the temptation, the book of Matthew, the book of Mark, the book of Luke, the book of John is filled with Christ performing miracles to demonstrate that he's the son of God. I don't know if you're getting the contrast. Christ, how did you get the contrast? Is affirmed immediately that he's the son of God. Matthew chapter 4, the devil tempts him, and the devil says, demonstrate to me that you're the son of God by performing a miracle. Christ refuses to do the demonstration to demonstrate that he's the son of God. But Christ, from Matthew 5 onwards, performs miracles the entire time, 3.5 years, if we look into historical demarcation, performing miracles. And why is he performing miracles? To demonstrate that he's a son of God. So there's that contrast, right? There's that contrast. So Christ doesn't want to prove the obvious to the devil who knows that he's a son of God. But to those of us who don't know that he's a son of God, Christ will perform miracles. Christ will perform miracles. I think there's a point for us there to appreciate. There's a point for us to appreciate that often than not, we perform for wrong people. We perform for wrong people. We perform for wrong people. And in that way, we lose sense of our own identity. Christ knew that he's a son of God, and the devil knew that very well. He didn't need to prove to the person who knows and the person outside of his mission, his purpose, and goal in life that he's a son of God. But we spend so much of our lives trying to prove what is true of ourselves. We spend so much of our lives trying to demonstrate to others what is true of us, what we know of us. Or maybe we demonstrate to others, we demonstrate for others, maybe because we are not sure of ourselves. And to show others that we are sure, we then have to show others so that we can assure ourselves. And there's a problem with that as well. The problem with that is that if our identity, if our purpose, our mission only is true when affirmed by others, it means that it is not true at all. In other words, the point is this: why must the spectator be more important than the performance? Why must the spectator be more important? Right? And I'm saying this point precisely because if you're a skilled guitar player, the presence of an audience does not enhance your skills. Does not enhance your skills. Right? If you are a skilled soccer player, the presence of spectators do not add any skills to you. Right? Do not add any skills to you. So basically, the problem could be that we have a lot of individuals who have not had a conference with themselves and sat down with themselves and engaged themselves about themselves and assured themselves about themselves and worked on their self-esteem and worked on their inferiority complex and then resolved themselves. A lot of people are unresolved. And instead of resolving themselves, they want to resolve themselves at places where they shouldn't be resolving themselves in the presence of others. They want to resolve themselves in the theater. No, the theater is not for resolving yourself, it's for demonstration. But you're not demonstrating to affirm what is true, you're demonstrating to share it. You're demonstrating it to share a testimony. You're demonstrating it to show that you've got something to give. You've got something to give. And this is very, very important. This is very important because and this point is important in the context of social media, where we feel that our lives are complete when we can show people that we've got this, we've got that, we are this, and we are that. Right? Which by implication shows how empty we are, right? And then quite crucially, the moments to ourselves, for ourselves and about ourselves are limited because we're so worried about others. How do we get others? How do we impress others? How do we show others? I think God allowed us to be in this situation. So just close the curtains, just close the house and deal with yourself. Deal with yourself. Resolve personal issues with you. Ask yourself those uncomfortable questions that you've never asked yourself about. Ask yourself questions about your own Christianity. About your own Christianity. Why ukhathazeke kangaka masabata ungakhathazekanga ngawe? Why impilo yakho yonke usaba ukuthi azothina amasabatha? Why impilo yakho yonke uma ingane zidonsa kanzima esikolweni, uma ingane zibanjwa ama-drugs, uma ingane zikhulelwa, ukhathazeke not about you, ukhathazeke ngamasabatha. Ukhathazeke ukuthi bazothina omakhelwane. And as a result, the standard doesn't come from inside of you. The standard doesn't come from the Bible. The standard doesn't come from the good things you wish for your children and yourself. The standard is the theater where you're going to be performing. The stage of life, it becomes the standard how others are going to perceive you. The spectator mentality to life is a disease that is destroying our families. That is why Corona is forcing us to go back to our homes and allow our homes to become theaters where we become at peace with who we are, at peace with the mistakes in our families, at peace with a variety of our own issues. And this point is important for me because I'm talking generally to Black people who have had to deal with a lot of traumatic issues. And many of us have not resolved those traumatic issues. We're in a rush to go and to deal with the world, to send out pictures instead of dealing with the real person, the real person. I mean, and this point for me is very important. How many of us have made peace with a traumatic history we've experienced? Some have been abused, some have been neglected, some have done the neglecting, Some have been abandoned. Some have been doubted. Some have been doubting others. I'm talking here in a very private. How many of us have dealt with those issues? How many of us have forgiven those who have done those things to us? And how many are willing to apologize for those kinds of things? Dealing with the self, dealing with the self, dealing with the self. So often, even when we go to the world, we're fractured. We're fractured. We are broken. Right? But because we have to perform, people are clapping for us while we're bleeding, while we're struggling with the personal issues. So the very first point I want to draw from this, is that let the broken, let the doubted, let the demoralized, let those who are socially paralyzed, let those who have been rejected, go back to the room and accept themselves. Go back to the room and sit down with your family, sit down with the Lord and resolve those issues. Resolve those issues. Let me make a point that's crucial about this. Miracles often that you find, and I'm going to spend some time talking about miracles today because that's where the direction I want to take. Often you'll find there is no miracle to deal with personal issues of that nature. It's no miracle. It's easy to perform a miracle of turning water into wine. It's easy to perform of opening a person's eyes. But what about a miracle of someone who was traumatized all their lives? What about a miracle of a person who was raped? That you have to live with this memory for the rest of your life. What about a miracle of feeling that you are not successful and other people are better than you? What about a miracle of not meeting the status of your immediate relatives, family, fears? What about, do you understand? There's no demonstration for those kinds of things. There's no demonstration for those kinds of things. And often it is easy to talk about the healing by the pool of Bethesda. It is easy to talk about there was drought and then there was rain all of a sudden. It is easy to talk about the resurrection of Lazarus. Those are big demonstrations and you can see them immediately. Tell me about a miracle that deals with you as a subjective human being. The miracle that deals with your depression, the miracle that deals with the fact that you've neglected, or the fact that you've lived with a person who has cheated on you for 15 years and you had to forgive them, but the memory is still there. Those kinds of things. Those things that break us. I don't know, I'm smiling, but I think these issues are serious. Those kinds of things. And I think God has allowed us to enter into this situation so that we could have a personal conference with ourselves, a personal conference with people close to us, a personal conference with our families, and then start saying, I want to get peace. I want to be healed. I want to take charge of my life. I'm tired of demonstrations. I'm tired of being what I'm not. I want to be me. And I want to know who I am. So when the devil says, do this to prove, say, but why must I prove? I've got nothing to prove. This is what I am. I've got nothing to prove. So I thought that's the first point I thought we should deal with, related with the point about these other miracles are easy. At least that's my view. These other miracles are easy, but the deep stuff about us as individuals, those are the difficult things, because they're not out there to be seen. They're about you as an individual. And those are things that invite so much shame, so much doubt, so much regret about our existence. And these points that I'm raising are important even for how we relate to our young people and children in the houses. The pressures that we create to them, we never think about the trauma that it causes them, the failures that they have, One of the worst failures in Adventist family is a failure of having a child, or a failure of drinking or smoking, and how people perceive you and how people speak of you with good or bad intentions, and the trauma those things cause to individuals. And we've never thought about that. We've never thought about that, because all we care about is demonstration. Don't do this, don't do that. But the person internally, we've never thought about that. We've never thought, and we don't even think about that. I don't want to talk about things like homosexuality. If Adventists can discover that you're homosexual, the pressure, the suffering, the name calling, and the labeling, it's not a very therapeutic environment. It's not a very empowering environment. It's not an environment that says you might be dealing with something very complicated. We're here to support you. It's an environment that says, that wants to crush you until you demonstrate what is right. Care more about that, but the inner life of an individual, the inner life of an individual. That is why when God talks to Christ, this is my son, in whom I am well pleased, not on, in whom I am well pleased, in whom I'm well pleased. In other words, internally, Christ was at peace. Psychologically, he was in peace. Everything about him had found connection. In other words, he had inner health, psychological health. As a subject, he was in order. And that's the kind of health we don't emphasize for spirituality, because we have thought that spirituality is about actions. You're giving the poor, you're reading a lesson, you are preaching, right? You are preaching. But we've not asked ourselves that one important part of our lives is the private, the hidden part about our lives. It's not important at all. That part is not important at all. What is important is what we can see. But before Christ could start ministering to people, God spent about 27 years, 28 years, dealing with a man inside, making sure that by the time Christ meets people, he is psychologically well, he is stable. He is stable. In an environment we're talking about depression, as a church, as a families, we have no resources to support the internal going-ins of people's life. We've got no resource at all. We've got no resource at all to assist people with internal issues. We've got no resource at all. Let me give you a practical example. A young female gets pregnant in the church. The most important thing the church will do is to dispatch a deacon. After dispatching a deacon, the church will sit and then disfellowship the child or censure the girl. Moreover, after doing that, the best remedy she will get is saying, no, she must go for a baptismal class. That's the best we can do. No psychological resource at all. No time to help her deal with the shame. How to help her deal with the shame? How to integrate her? How do we integrate her? How do we? No, nothing at all. Nothing at all. And it shows how we don't have skill to deal with the internal mechanisms of an individual, because all we care about it's the demonstration. The demonstration. So the point I'm trying to make is that there's a challenge for us to think quite deeply about the inner goings on of a person. How do we then be prepared and how to deal with that? And the problem why we don't know how to deal with that is because of our approach to things. Let me just say a word on that before I go on. We are generally a law-centered society. General law society, right? Most Christian religions are a law-centered society. Right. So you have got rules, you've got protocols, rules and protocols. And the thing about laws is that laws are a problem, because laws are straightforward. Don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, right? Which is good, but it's a problem. It's a problem. It's a problem because human life is very complex. And the point I'm making is controversial. Please be patient with yourself as I explain it. Human life, it's complex. Life is complex. Rules don't quite capture, human life. I want to explain this point so that you get it. I want to get it. So don't Don't do this, don't do this, don't do that. Don't do this. And that's the approach that we have, right? So it's very easy to understand in human life. You look at the law, look at their performance. No, this is straightforward. Don't do this. And sometimes you encounter someone at the shop, right? And this person is trying to steal. It's trying to, and you catch them. This person was stealing. And if you're using the law approach, you say this person is criminal, it's evil. Poor woman is stealing clothes, stealing clothes. And you don't know the background story, that this person is not a thief. This is a mother worried about a child, that winter is coming in. And all she has no money, she's unemployed, right? She has no money. All she wanted to do was to provide clothes for a child to be warm. But when all you're looking at is the law, it's obvious when you look at the law. This is a person who is stealing. It's a person who is stealing, right? And what's the point I'm trying to say? That when you use a mind of a judge, that's all you're going to see. This person is stealing. The action is there. It's obvious. But when you use an empathetic approach, you're going to stop and say, but why is this person stealing these jerseys? It's empathy. It's reading into people's lives as complex, as situated. And you're saying, but why is this person stealing these jerseys? What are they going to do with these jerseys? Not everyone who steals jerseys wants to go and sell them, right? But when you have a law, anyone who steals is just a thief, because the law is very clear. You steal, you're a thief. But this person was not being a thief. She was being a mother the best way she could at the time. The best way she could at the time. Let me give you another uncomfortable example. Sometimes there are a lot of women who are prostitutes, not because they're prostitutes, because she is being a mother the best way she knows how. That is why Christ, when he meets that woman in John chapter 8, he is so sympathetic to her. And that's why when that woman had saved all the money from prostitution, she takes that money and buys an expensive perfume and uses it on the feet of Jesus. A judge would have rejected that. This is money from prostitution. But an empathetic thinker who understands the condition of a human life doesn't take a view of a judge, but takes a view of embracing, creating a home, and understanding that people's conditions are complex. And sometimes rules can't explain that. And so in other words, we've taken a mind of a judge and not taken a mind that's empathetic. And this is not to say that there's no crime. There is criminality, but there are other things going on. There are other things going on. And it's the empathetic view that allows you to see people's life for what they are, that will bring people close to us, that will bring us closer to people, not to judge them, but to understand them. To understand them. Understand them. Instead of being disgusted that this person is a prostitute, but ask yourself, how did she get there? Because no one, when they grow up, they sit and plan to be a prostitute. How did she get to that low position? And instead of taking a view from a mountain, get out of the mountain and go down and say, how did you get here? And get into this person's life. But because the law is in a rush, the law is easy. You are prostituting, you are evil, and that's it. And the Bible constantly, sends us messages, about no, don't be in a rush, don't be in a rush. When they want to stone that woman, I says, wait, don't be quick to stone her. And I don't condemn you. I don't condemn you. You can say that. We have condemned the prostitute, we're done. That's why Christ says, talking to the Pharisees, he says, guys, the prostitutes are running ahead of you, running into the kingdom. It's an empathetic view. Empathetic view. There's more to these people than the prostitution. I see so much in them. I can see their life stories. I can see their conditions. But it requires you to be patient to look into people's lives. So I thought, let me bring out that element as we try, when we go back to the world, when we deal with ourselves, when we deal with people, it's important to have the sense of the law. It's important, but there are other deeper things about human beings that requires a lot of patience. Let me go on with this. Let me go on with this. I don't want to lose track of time. How much do I have? But
Continue.
yeah, well, I hope it is a nami band. And look, when I'm done here, when I'm done here, I'm open to us, having a chat about these things,
Definitely.
just before we pray, just have a chat, and just exchange ideas. Now, let's go on. I think this will be the last point I want to make on these issues, because these are very unsettling things about how to look at human life. A lot of us, when a lot of us become surprised when we see Christ. When Christ performs miracles, we become excited. We think the most powerful thing about the means of Christ was the miracles, right? Was the miracles. But we miss some detail there, and I want to spend some time discussing that detail. So Mark chapter 5, Christ heals chapter 5, Christ heals a fellow who was sick. Heals the fellow. After healing the fellow, the fellow wants to follow Christ. Christ says, no, don't follow me. Go tell your family what I've done for you. Go resolve your issues, man. Go resolve. Don't escape your society. Don't escape your family. Don't escape yourself. Go deal with those people. Go deal with the shameful life that you used to live. Go deal with those issues. Go take that kind of responsibility and then tell them what I've done for you. But go to your family and engage these issues. John chapter 9 opens the man's eyes. Man now can see. And the man is healed. The man is healed. And many other miracles. John even goes to a point that if we could cite all the miracles that Christ performed, there would be no books to contain. So Christ did so many miracles. But two instances that you need to relate. One, when he took out the children of Israel from slavery, he opened the Red Sea. Yeah, well, that's a miracle of miracles, to see a Red Sea, drying up and before he got to the cross, now look at that parallelism. Before he gets to the cross, he performed miracles that would fill the earth. Books in the earth. Now they will write so many books that when you put these books down, they will fill the entire earth. There will be no earth sufficient to contain all these miracles, right? Two things. No, on the one hand, he opens the Red Sea, no miracle like that. On the other hand, all the miracles, in other words, in the Bible, what you've got selected miracles, right? But if all the miracles were written, they would fill the entire earth in terms of books, right? But in both instances, when they enjoyed that miracle, they still continued sinning. On the part of Christ, they still continued to kill him. So they still, there is no part of the Jewish society that didn't get the impact of his miracles. For some, funerals were cancelled. For some, their weddings were extended with wine. For some, for some were even told that in some communities he went to the hospital and healed everyone. So everyone was aware of these miracles. Some were personal beneficiaries. Others were witnesses to these. Over Peter, they saw 5,000 people fed, you know. They saw 5,000. They saw these miracles. They saw all of them. Still denied him. And I don't know him. I don't know him. I don't know him. What's the point that I'm trying to drive here? What's the point I'm trying to drive here? The point I'm trying to drive here is that miracles are not the most powerful thing that God could ever do. Because in spite of miracles, human beings don't stop being human. Because after a Red Sea, after you walked on dry ground for a couple of kilometers, how would you still sin? How would you still sin? You think about it, Pastor Ron. You're walking, you know, for 5-10 kilometers crossing the sea, right? Those of us are staying there right next to the sea. That's the thing. And then you still go on to sin. Look at Peter. He still goes on to deny him. Deny him. In other words, miracles were meant to shake their heads, just to shock them. But something deeper, something is still required to reach a human being. Something deeper is still required to meet the human being. So when Christ was performing miracles, Christ was well aware of that miracles are at the surface. Something deeper is still required. I need to reach a man, a human being, inside the inner workings of a human being. Because it is possible for a human being to see so much this demonstration and a human being is still not reached. So still not reached. I mean, it's still not reached. So powerful as miracles as they seemed, but there's something that's very problematic about being human that requires more than miracles. That is why when Christ was using these miracles, he was using them as a doorway to reach human beings deeply. But even with miracles, it was even difficult. With miracles. Now, here's the implication. How much more for us who are doing parentings without power to perform miracles? How much more? The difficulty for us. We don't have miracles. We don't have miracles. How much more those of us who have to do parenting when we can't produce 5,000 loaves for our children? Sometimes we go to sleep without food. How much more the difficulty? How much more the difficulty? So the profound point is that miracles do not remove the fact of being human from the equation. They don't remove the fact of being human. And the deeper aspect of it is that issue in relation to us as Christians, the question of belief. Belief. Seeing miracles doesn't make belief easy. It doesn't make it easy. And we have evidence for that. We have evidence for that. They saw miracles. They were fed manna for many years. It didn't become easy for them to believe. It didn't become easy for us to believe. The work of belief is a difficult work, Basalwan, and we need to be honest about that. That if our predecessors saw all the miracles that Christ performed and Judas was able to betray him, how much more about us who didn't see any miracle? Judas remained the greedy, the selfish person that he was, even in the presence of Christ, was performing so many miracles. And the question that I'm posing to us is that how much more difficult it will be for us to understand that. What's the point that I'm trying to make? Our religion requires us to be very patient with human beings because we are dealing with a difficult process. And what's the difficult thing about this? I don't think there's any Bible writer who has kept us this correctly. I think it's 2 Corinthians chapter 10. I'm not sure. I think so. Let me look for it quickly. It's the last verse I want to share with you. I don't even know whether this is it. Yes, this is it. Chapter 10, 2 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 4. Let's start from verse 3. For though we walk in the flesh, we do not war after the flesh. For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through the pulling down of strongholds. Pulling down of strongholds. That's a point that's crucial for me. Casting down. Look what we're casting down. What are we casting down? Imaginations. And every high thing that exalted itself against the knowledge of God. The most difficult thing about us human beings is imaginations. And the Bible calls it high things. Very few of us, and that's why many people are not, even after miracles, they couldn't still be saved. They still even couldn't, it's because they thought that these miracles just benefited them. They didn't think that these miracles were elevating Christ to be the highest thing in their imaginations. In other words, the strongholds holding their imagination as the highest things are difficult to bring down. And what does that mean? To surrender to the authority of Christ as superior to you psychologically. No, not demonstrations. It's easy to go to a summer school. It's easy to preach. But the most difficult things is to allow your imagination to go down and submit to Christ as a savior. The most difficult thing is that. The stronghold that must be brought down psychologically refers to us subjectively surrendering to a power beyond us. They felt the power, but they couldn't surrender to it. They couldn't surrender to it. Judas couldn't surrender to it. His imagination couldn't imagine casting down imaginations. The walls of our imaginations are still standing. In other words, we're still stubborn, we're still selfish, we're still narcissistic, we're still self-absorbed. We are in this thing, not for it for ourselves. And the demand that Christianity makes, the wall must come down so that the new master must be in charge. Surrender is the issue here. Surrender is the issue here. So in other words, even when people see miracles, they clap, they're excited. The imagination has not been calmed down. And listen to this verse. I think this is one of the most profound verses in the Bible. Casting down imagination, that everything that exalted itself against the knowledge of God, and bring it into captivity, every thought to the obedience of Christ. Every thought. Look, the greatest miracle that could ever happen in the world is when imaginations have been cast down and every thought has been captivated. That's what the Bible says, right? Captivity of every thought. That's the problem. The uncaptured mind, like a horse with no rider running amok. Running amok. That's the problem. That's the problem. That's the problem. The imagination is still up there. So people see these miracles, but the imagination will still not be captured. And every thought not subjected to the knowledge of Christ. So problem deeply. So the impact of Christianity is psychological in that sense, that the fight is about imagination, right? Which the Bible uses that it must be cast down. Right? When you are fighting an enemy, one of the best strategies in ancient civilization was the high wall to close out the enemy. Close out the enemy. So in other words, Christ is still an enemy because the walls are still high. They've not been brought down. The walls are still high. He's still an outsider. Imagination is still, every thought must be brought, they must be cast down, their imagination. And our religion has not dealt with that deep subjective stuff of human existence. Our religion has focused on, Bazalwane, please bear with me. I need to collect a laptop charger. Bazalwane ngiqedile. Point yami I think ibilula. Ithi ngisummarize ngokuthi namhlanje bengithi angina-abuse ukuthi senze just psychology nje encane, psychology encane. Ukuthi inkolo yethu ilula masiyenza ngathi inkolo yokudla. Ukuthi ungadli inyama, ungadli amakhekhe anobisi noshukela makuhlangana kwenza utshwala. Kulula lokho. You understand? All you have to do is to stop buying ingredients. Ungagqoki amabhlukwe, ungafaka amacici. Kulula konke lokho. But when you say to someone, your religion deeply is about the inner workings of you as a human being, where your imagination must be brought into abeyance and subjectivity to a higher power, which is Christ. There's no building labo. There's no church building. School labo. It's about you deeply personally. What is the controlling idea in your head? What's the controlling idea in your head? What have you surrendered to? What have you surrendered to? What have you surrendered to? Ungawenza wonke ama-miracles, as long as the high walls are standing, means nothing. And that for me, why health, that's why mental health is important. For that reason, that religion deals with that kind of mental health, in a sense of which we're subjecting ourselves to a higher power and surrendering it to surrendering. And also this idea also for me is important as a person who teaches students. But many of our students come to school not because they've understood the importance of that process. No, their imagination is still running amok. They think about boyfriends, they think about nice cars, but they've not surrendered to the process of learning. And that's why many of them, they just get grades, they just pass, but they've not surrendered themselves to learn, right? Many of us, even when we get married, we're not getting married because we've surrendered ourselves to this idea. That is why many marriages have got so many problems, because people, they're casting down that I'm no longer a boyfriend, I'm no longer a girlfriend. I'm running now a family. It's not happened. So people still come with that attitude into these things, right? Come with this attitude into these things. And as a result, so that attitude is a problem fundamentally to all of these things that we're discussing. And that is why the Apostle Paul had a sense of this when he says, I die daily. I scrutinize myself. I look at what frames my mind. I suppose I subject myself, when he talks about 2 Corinthians chapter 9, he says, a man who's not temperate in all things. You investigate yourself, you ask deep questions about yourself internally, and then you say, but why am I doing this? And then you start getting to that stage, David ati, Lord, search me. No, even when you've done a thorough cleaning of yourself and your intentions and your motives, you understand that it's in the mind that emotive, you understand, intention. Those are deep things about you. Right? Sit down and clean yourself. I mean, how many of us sit down and ask, if you're in a relationship, but what are my intentions with this person? But you ask yourself, what are my intentions? What are my motives? What are my motives? Right? And be honest about those kinds of things. Why am I doing this? Why am I part of a church? Why am I part of a church, but I'm struggling to support it? Yes, I'm struggling to support it. Right? Because those are deep things about you that will tell you a story about you. And when you've done that, you go and say, Lord, search me. Maybe there might be deep things that I'm afraid to confront. So I thought I should share those with you. And look, before we pray, I don't know what your structure. We could exchange ideas, Bazalwane, for 5 minutes or so. School, let's talk, and then maybe we can then sit under us.
All right. No, I think it's important. I've always considered your food is in my eyes. No, man, that was powerful. I'm busy salivating of the thoughts you've shared. One of which I liked about miracles. Miracles are not the end of it all. They are just the means. Kodwa futhi nakhona even noma i-miracle isiyenzekile, the change might not happen, as you noted, uLokhunja, uJudas, noPeter. These people, they were with Jesus. They spent time now. God ekugcineni, they had different outcomes. So I like that. So, but anyway, abazalwane, they are free to ask. You know, mafuna ukubuza, just show. I know abaningi they are watching from YouTube. Bavele babakhona lapha. So I don't know if there's anybody mhlawumbe nje ofuna i-clarity before sivale ngomthandazo. You know, just raise your hand, or you want to have a comment while esasekhona uDr. Motsamai. Just wave your hand or raise your hand. Kube khona nje leyo discussion. But for me, I know everything was perfect. Was perfect. So far, no, it seems my preacher would yonke into ngathi ihambe kahle. You know, everybody is happy with how it turned. Oh, he's gone, man. They're happy. All right.